Chief Quebec correspondent Alexa Lavoie landed in London this morning. She joins us now live via Skype on the eve of this potential showdown. Alexa, great to see you, and thank you for traveling to London for us.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to report on, I think it will be a really important story because we see that right now there is already some police on guard. We know that police were concerned also. They asked both of the protesters to cancel and to change the date for their protest. Both of them refused, and we will see like what will happen because police have concern about probably like illegal activities or probably some vandalism that might happen.
Well, not just vandalism. When I was there a couple of weeks ago, during the day, the protest was angry and vile, but it was peaceful. But by nightfall, when some of the middle-aged people and the families went home, what was left on the streets but young, hot-headed, hot-blooded men who were looking for a fight. And so while the protest was peaceful during the day, night falls in the United Kingdom around 5 p.m. these days. By 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you had still thousands of young men who were looking for action, and they got it by fighting with the cops. Now, you mentioned two groups of protesters, because of course you have the pro-Hamas protesters, but now some pro-British protesters, including some led by our alumnus, Tommy Robinson, say they're going to have a support the Veterans March. So you've got the Remembrance Day proceedings, you have the pro-Hamas marchers, and then you have some British defend the veterans. You are going to have a lot of different people jostling on those streets. I don't know if the Metropolitan Police are up to it. I think they're going to be outnumbered, first of all. What do you think? Are you sensing anything? You say there's some cops out there already. Tomorrow's the big day. What does it feel like now? Are there police encampments yet?
But you need to understand that for the British, already this weekend, it's a busy weekend. Not only because on the Sunday, there will be the king and there will be like all the royal family that will come for honoring the veteran and for having a big celebration. And we know that on the Saturday, too, they will have like a lot of people in the street for that weekend. Mm-hmm. And so the police... I think they will not have the number of manpower on the ground to deal with not only the tourists, but also the pro-Palestinian, but also the pro-British one. So I think it will be really interesting because I don't think police will be enough number for dealing with that.
You know, I remember during the pandemic that anti-lockdown protesters, anti-vaccine mandate protesters, they were dealt with brutally by British police. Now, British police typically are not armed. They don't have guns, but still they have batons, they have their fists, they throw people in the back of paddy wagons. So we know that the British police can be forceful when they are politically instructed to be forceful, but I can't help but note that the mayor of London is an Islamist advocate named Sadiq Khan. And I'm not just saying that because he's Muslim. He was a terrorist lawyer. He was a lawyer for terrorists before he became mayor. So he is very comfortable with Hamas and Hezbollah. Those are his people. And that's one reason he's in office, is that the number of migrants to London is so large and so many of them are Islamist in their inclination that Sadiq Khan handily won the mayoralty. And that's what I mean by London is sort of a preview of Canada if we keep going down this road. Now, Alexa, I want to point out to our viewers that we have sent you not only with a cameraman, but with 2 bodyguards. And I want to put that on the record because when I went there 2 weeks ago, I was sort of unprepared for it and I didn't do anything too risky and I wasn't really at any conflict point. But even I had a few touch and go moments. I want our viewers to know that you will have 2 bodyguards. And let me just appeal to you personally, if a situation gets very violent, I would hope that you, the bodyguards and the cameraman, would withdraw to a safe distance. There's no story that's worth getting beat up. And I know you know that. I know you're very careful, but I just want to let you know that I would prefer it if you weren't right in the fray. But it's your judgment call. We certainly want to report on the news, but we want to keep you safe, my friend.
Yeah, and especially because we will not only report during the day, but as people know, it's mostly during the night at the end of the protest when part of the protester left that everything is happened, like vandalism or other like illegal activities. So we'll stay on the ground all day to be able like to really portray what happened during that day.
Well, we've set up a special website. I think it's called battleforlondon.com. And we're going to have your tweets there and your videos there. And, you know, this isn't just speculative on our part. In the past few weeks, so many memorials, statues, for example, the Winston Churchill statue was vandalized. There's a statue for Alex Haig, if I'm remembering the name of the general correctly, that Palestinian protesters put all their flags on. So there's sort of been a gentle desecration. I don't know if spray paint is considered a gentle desecration, but there's been graffiti, vandalism, and sort of a mild desecration of these symbols. And I think the reason why tomorrow is such a big deal is that it is a symbolic day for Brits. It's Remembrance Day. So this bad behavior that these pro-Hamas protesters have engaged in over the last few weeks, tomorrow it's going to really prickle people the wrong way. I'm glad you're on the ground to take a look at things, but let me just take a minute of your time to talk about what you saw in Montreal yesterday and the day before. You got on the plane to London last night, but before you got on the plane, you went to a Jewish school in Montreal that actually had been shot with bullets. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about that and what you make about what's going on in your home city of Montreal?
But I think the individual who shot at the two schools wanted to make that as a symbol to see that it's an anti-Semitic like act. We can see it. They wanted people to be afraid. But the thing is, when I arrived on the ground there were young kids about 9, 10, 11 years old that actually stay at that school, and they were really afraid, and they were telling me like they don't understand why they are getting targeted. Mm-hmm. So both of them had like a bullet shot in the middle of the two door, and one of the school, the bullet passed through the first door and actually broke into the second door. What I can say is like, according to someone who were on the ground, he saw the footage of the security camera, and it told me that he appeared to be a man. The man was by foot, and he came towards the door, and he shot, and he left. So this is clearly a rising anti-Semitic behavior that we are seeing happening in Montreal. And I'm not surprised when we see like Adil Sharkawi doing like this kind of speech and nobody is stopping him. The police is not doing anything. He's not charged for a hate crime. So because there is no impact of what they are doing, they permit themselves to go further and further. And now we see like the repercussion. And now we see that some children's schools are being like targeted.
Yeah. And of course, in Toronto, any Jewish institution or just an institution run by Jews, so they've gone after restaurants, they've gone after Chapters Indigo because its founder's Jewish. She's born in Montreal. She's not part of the Israeli government or anything, but they were smearing her store with blood red paint. And it's just, it is a kind of madness. And that's why I'm interested in your trip to London, because I think they're further down that road than we are in terms of the number of unassimilated Islamic migrants who support jihad. Like I look forward to your perspective on it. I spent a few hours in the midst of the protests, and I was deeply struck by what I saw. I look very much forward to what you have to say. And hey, can you do me a favor? Can you do at least one of your reports en français? Because you're obviously French is your first language. We really want your work in English, but I think if you did a report or two in French, I think it would be well watched by people in Quebec and people in France, because this march, this showdown in London, I think is an international story. At least we think so, which is why we're sending you there. Tell me if there's anything that you're going to keep a special eye out for tomorrow. Is there something that you're planning to cover in particular? Is some place you're going to go, or what's your plan tomorrow?
So we are planning to go and see the Patriot first, because they are the first to meet together. The Patriot, the British Patriot, who are there for protecting the Xenophag. So we are going there first, and afterwards we are going where the pro-Palestine will meet, and we will follow the protest, but we will also keep an eye on every single sign or speech, or we try to engage conversation with some of the people in the protest. And as I say, we will keep our feet on the ground until late at night to be able to catch if there is anything that is happening that is a criminal action or other incident.